Good afternoon, everyone. Guys, we're going to be talking about a potential conflict in the South Atlantic. Now, I touched on this a little bit yesterday, but I wanted to go more into it because, as we move forward, more things come out. There's more articles. There's more governments start to reveal their posture. And, it looks like everybody's gearing up for the South Atlantic to be the next conflict zone. Now, I think this is the only place that the United Kingdom should be 100% pursuing with every ounce of resources that we have. And it all comes down to oil. Now, well, let me just read you what's been recently announced by the Russians. I think by the Russians. So this is, I'll put this link in the description, guys. This is by Sergei. I understand it as in by Sergei Shuhankin. I don't know who he is. From Moscow, science has always come second to ideology. So, guys, also just before we go on, that Orthodox Church there, I think that's a thing of beauty. Anyway, sorry, slightly off on a tangent. So Russian recent reports discovered of and alleged readiness to commercially exploit oil and gas reserves of around, sit down guys when I tell you this, 511 billion barrels in the UK zone of interest in Antarctic. So basically this would be in British Antarctic territory, the territory that Britain stakes a claim to because we control the Falklands. In the Atlantic has alarmed many Western politicians and prominent policymakers. Guys, I've been saying that even before this oil announcement was made, I've been saying this on this channel and our other channels for such a long time. Not just the oil that's being found, it's the key to Antarctica. Whoever controls the Falklands controls Antarctica, and Antarctica is unspoiled for natural resources. Guys, we don't even know what's down there. Prominent policymakers. The new discovery is the world's largest. So let's contextualize that, guys. Now, as members of the United Kingdom, myself and everybody else who I meet on the street, we are sitting now on the world's largest discovery of oil, dwarfing Venezuela's reserves of 300 billion. So, guys, this is almost twice as much as they found, as Venezuela has. This thing could be absolutely huge. And by huge, I mean this could lift each and every man, woman, and child in the United Kingdom out of poverty and into prosperity, as long as we don't follow this ridiculous green agenda, equating to around 10 times the North Sea's output for the last 50 years. So if you take what the North Sea have taken for the last 50 years, and 10x it, that's what we've got in Antarctica. That's what we could have, and that's the money that we could have. Adding to concerns, Moscow's recently appointed defense minister, Andrei Belosov, stated during a celebration of Antarctic exploration that Russia's presence on the continent corresponds with its scientific, economic, and geopolitical interests. Earlier this year, Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke about large financial investments earmarked for Antarctic exploration. Hang on, guys. So that's that's where we are at the moment. That's what's happening. These are the people who are coming towards, who are putting their money in. Also, what have you got in the backdrop of this? So what's happening with the backdrop? Well, Argentina is the key player here because you can't make that stake to that region of Antarctica without controlling the Falklands. So what I think is going to happen, and what you've seen Argentina do, well, basically Argentina, they're buying a lot of Western weapons. They're buying a lot of NATO stock weapons. They're buying a lot of military equipment that would be the perfect equipment to attack the Falkland Islands. There's no other way around it, guys. The financial incentive for Argentina to take another strike at the Falklands is guys, it's going to be an inevitability, especially when all these wars, all these conflicts happen. What I think is going to happen, and this is just me speculating right now, I think Russia and Argentina are going to ally. These guys are going to come together because, quickly, let me just, something else that's of relative interest. That church that I just showed you there, where are we? Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, that church I just showed you there is here, which is also, this bit here is British Antarctic. Well, actually, it's a lot bigger than that. But this bit here is all British Antarctic territory, and that church is right in the center of that. In fact, let's zoom right in on that. So this is the area that the Russians, where the Russian church is. The Russians have got a little station. Oh, you can see it there, Trinity Church, Antarctica. That's where the Russians are. So it all becomes it's going to become very diplomatic, very, and very, very, people are going to have to tread cautiously. And this is why I always I always say, is David Lammy the best person to go and be able to negotiate these things? Because don't forget, he's going to have to negotiate with Sergei Lavrov. Sergei Lavrov has been in that position older than, guys, he's older than time. He's got a lot of experience. So if Putin says to him, Putin won't even need to say to him because he knows this anyway. They'll say, right, Sergei, we need to trip the Brits up and make them give us a way into the Falkland Islands, or make them give us a way into Antarctica. And when we've got these inept politicians like David Lammy going to do these negotiations, he could really drop us in this, and we could lose everything down there. But what I think is going to happen over the next X amount of months, years, whatever, everybody knows this oil's there now. You've got, a lot of companies moving down there, a lot of drilling companies starting to move down there. You've got a lot of infrastructure being invested in the Falkland Islands. What I think is going to happen is at some point the Argentinians are going to make they're going to make a dive, they're going to make a switch, they're going to make a play and cozy up to the Russians. When they do that, the Russians, remember, Vladimir Putin's already said that he will arm, I can't remember the exact words, but he basically said that he would arm enemies of the West. So he will supply weapons now to any enemy of the West. That's why I think that the Argentinians are buying a lot of NATO weapons right now while they can, because as soon as they show their cards, that's going to be it. They're not going to be able to buy any more weapons. So that's what they're doing now. As soon as they show their cards, Russia's going to give them a ton of weapons, and then they're going to try and, potentially with Russia, potentially on their own. We don't know. There's a lot of things to come about yet. But Russia will put some sort of legal claim to that's their territory and the Brits shouldn't be there. The Argentinians will take the Falklands, try and take the Falklands again. And it's just going to be a whole quagmire. But guys, this has got nothing to do with sovereignty. So when we see this pop up on the news, the Argentinians, they're claiming sovereignty over the Falkland Islands or the Maldives or whatever it's called. Guys, just remember, this has got nothing, zero to do with sovereignty, and it's got everything to do with the amount of oil that's been discovered down there. And it makes this a really lucrative prize. Think how much money that the governments will get off this, off tax. Think how rich the country could be. We'd be richer than Saudi Arabia. And for me, it makes more sense to go down there and protect that asset than push this green agenda, then push overseas wars, then push, climate change and funding other people for it, foreign aid budgets. All this sort of stuff seems absolutely ridiculous. When you're sat, we're sat on that type of money as the United Kingdom down there in Antarctica, and we can go and get that, because it is in our, it's in our territory. It's there. It's for our, it's for our taking. Now, the worries are that the Russians will go and do this anyway, and they could do this and just rip up international law. So there's international law and international treaty down there. I'm not sure what it's called, but it expires basically, or it's up for renewal in, I want to say 2043, but I also think it may be I think it's 2043, which sounds like a long time, but it's kind of not. Now, the reality is, if the Russians go down there and just start drilling anyway, Who's going to stop them? Who's going to stop them? Have we got some sort of international oil police that are going to go down there and tell them they can't, you know, drill for oil? No, of course not. They're going to take that oil. Okay, so they're going to take that oil. Okay, so we're going to sanction their oil. Well, we've done that already. We heavily sanctioned Russian oil. We've sanctioned their shipping. We've sanctioned their transport. All it's done is made them stronger. Because I did a video a while back, I'll try to link it in the end, where, you know, I talked about the Russian dark fleet, the dark fleet that Russia has that transports its oil around. These, you know, this is a huge fleet of old shipping, oil shipping ships, containers, what do you call them? You know, and these things just sail around there. They're not under international, they don't come under the same regulations as international ships. They don't have insurance, and, you know, they're kind of accidents waiting to happen. But Putin is managing to ship his oil to customers, do this freely, and he's making a ton of money. So why wouldn't the Russians go down there and take this? Because there's no more sanctions we can put on the Russians. There's no incentive for them not to do that. And that's the reason why, you know, I keep harping on about Antarctica, the South Atlantic, and it seems like, you know, nobody really seems to be listening yet. But anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to mag to grid, and I'll get you guys another video later.